Welcome to A New View. Today's episode, we're talking about fasting, taking a time out. And before you turn that off and think, oh, fasting, it's not for me, it's for the ultra super Christian, that's not so. Fasting means a lot of different things. So we want to kind of tell you what we think of fasting and kind of some ideas of what you can fast. So, what do you think of when you think of fasting?
Well, I always think of that line from Graham Cook who says, how's that diet working out for you?
Yes.
So fasting and dieting are not the same. A cleanse day and fasting,
Right.
completely different. So we're not talking about cleansing. We're not talking about dieting. We are talking about fasting for spiritual growth in this time.
Right, exactly. And I explained it to my kids because, you know, we've done corporate fast and I kind of guilted them into doing it. And I had just finished a fast and then my church did a fast. So then I felt guilty. Oh, I should join that corporate fast. And we were miserable. And then I asked the Lord, like, really? Like, why is this so hard? I fasted for 40 days and it was amazing. Why? And he said, because I didn't ask you to fast this time. And I'm like, but everybody else is doing it. And he's like, that's the problem. You're following the crowd. You're following the crowd and not following me. And so my kids remember that time. So then whenever I mention, you know, are you feeling led to fast or what do you think? They're all like, the brakes on, like, no, I'm good.
Fasting is a 4-letter word.
Yes, fast is. It is. It really is. And so I tell them now, if anything is tugging at your heart that's keeping you maybe not plugging into God as you would like to, then that tug is usually something that you need to kind of ask the Lord, like, I need you to remove it. Right. And I like to tell them too, it's when we get those calluses of the flesh that build up on our heart. That's really kind of my definition is like, we're removing the calluses that kind of build up on our heart and things. And so also I asked him, because this was funny, I said, when you think of fasting and the very first thing you think, oh, I couldn't fast that, that's probably an indication you need to fast that. Yeah. For me, it was coffee. It was coffee. We're doing just a short fast. And that's another thing too, is most people think, oh, it has to be, you know, this many, 40 days, 30 days, 20 days, 21 days. It could be a day, it could be an hour, it's whatever you and the Lord do it. So we're doing a couple of week fast just as a family, doing some intentions that we want during that time. So really I tell them fasting is just being intentional about saying, hey Lord, I'm getting a tug for this more than my tug for you. And so I need you to remove those calluses on my heart and let's get back to, you know.
Sure. And it can even be for a season too, because I know I'm preparing next week, I'm going to do a 2-day fast. And for me, it really means fasting from, well, for me, it'll be from solid foods. I'll have like some wafers and some vitamins and some vitamin drinks. But other than that, it's more of a fast. But what it makes me do is it makes me stop. Because I'm not able to do my regular activities when I'm fasting. I don't have the energy for it. And so what's lovely is that I get everything ready. So I'm able to set the stage. I have my comfy chair that I'll sit in. I'll have my journal. I have to journal.
Yeah, me too.
When I'm fasting. And you know, when I was a little younger and when I had smaller kids, I was so challenged with fasting. And I'm still an infant at fasting, but it was so hard because I still had to run around with kids and do everything. And then I was just hungry. And so then I was just grouchy. And I said, well, I'm fasting, but I'm not having additional prayer time. And so that can't happen. So for me, what I'm preparing for is I'm looking for an encounter with Jesus, and I'm going to be journaling and praying and just being able to cut out my normal activities to be able to do that.
Right. And that's why we kind of said, you know, fasting a time out. To me, it's a time out. It's a time out of the normal things that you're doing and saying, I'm being intentional. I want to go deeper. I want to go beyond. I want to press in. And a lot of people fast for an answer or for an individual, because I've done that before where I've done fast and I've put this person and prayed for them and fasting and prayer every day. But, you know, religions, you know, for the Lent season is coming up, you know, and in our family, I mean, it was because we used to practice the Catholic religion and it was like Fat Tuesday, it was on, you know, whatever you wanted, you better eat it now because as soon as, you know, Ash Wednesday hits, you're giving up everything. And then it would be, you know, for however many weeks we'd be miserable, we'd be living for, you know, celebration Sunday, we'd be hating each other and everybody in life and everything. And one year God told me, he said,
Your motivation was
yeah,
off.
your motivation, that's what religion taught you, give up, that's what kind of, that's kind of what the religion, and then when God really started impressing upon me, he said, why don't you give up, being critical to your husband and serve him and pack his lunch? And I'm like, you're funny, no, not happening. And then I did that, and I was intentional in a season, and I served him and crucified my selfishness during that time. Tell you, so now I tell people, it doesn't have to be a food, it doesn't have to be a TV, it doesn't have to be anything. He may ask you to do random acts of kindness during that time. He may, whatever it is. I mean, it's I guess pulling away from our norm and what it is, because so many think it's all about giving up. Well, it is in a sense, but it's in that instance. I gave up selfishness, made his lunch, kept my mouth shut, and it worked good.
This was interesting, this topic for me, because I thought, okay, I'm not really going to talk about fasting. I don't want to look at my life and go, well, everything's perfect, but there's this one thing, if I could just give it up for a little while, everything would be great. No, there's still a bunch of other stuff that's jacked up. So I went into this thinking, okay, I'm not fasting. I'm looking for ways to actually partake in activities that are promoting my health or my relationships or my sanity. And I'm telling myself, yeah, that's what this is, right? So I'm realizing when I make a little list of what these activities are, what I'm realizing is I'm actually fasting from procrastination.
That's good. That's really good. Yeah.
And it's changing my life.
That's really
It's the
good.
best thing ever.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's great because we did an altered study a few years ago, and that was really just kind of crucifying, living in the resurrection power of Christ. It's crucifying ourselves daily. Whatever that is, we need to kind of shave off whatever that callus that's built up in whatever area of our life. It's getting rid of it and things. So we hope that you have learned a little bit maybe more about fasting. Maybe you don't agree with us. Maybe you have a different definition or a different idea of what fasting is. We'd love to hear your view. So #share your view of ANew view and let us know what you do. Are you fasting? Are you not fasting? How many days do you do it? What is it that you like to do? But we hope that you are taking a time out to reorganize and prioritize your life. Take care.